Here we go.
Do it.
Okay, cool.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Coffin Talkin', where we unravel the mysteries, embrace the peculiar, and find humor in the unconventional world of funerals and death. Frank just put on his glasses, so I think he's ready to go.
I have to see what I'm talking about. even though I don't read a script or anything like that, I have to have my glasses on. It makes me feel a little more comfortable. Yeah.
Well, how was your week?
The week has been busy, Holly. It's back. You know, that trade embalming that I talked about before a couple of weeks ago hasn't let up, and so one of the people that
you're still doing that.
Oh yeah, one of the people that I embalmed for, have done some trade embalming for, demanded that I be there this morning at 6. She showed up at 6:40, and then let me in the building, and then began to tell me exactly what I needed to do. Okay. All right.
All right. Okay.
So you start listening to him and saying, really, you don't even come back here. You don't even like the sight of blood. Seriously, why are you even here? So anyway, it's very interesting. And that was interesting there too, because one of the other facilities I've been embalming for have just stopped. There's nothing. I mean, they still have a lot of cremations like what we do. Yeah, it's still nothing from them. So, and that's fine, because our little business picked up a lot too. So we're just
you say that most of the time when they do ask for trade embalmings, it's the really hard cases that no one ever wants to do?
For the most part, but this one facility just doesn't have an embalmer. And so they just call me for every case. And so I don't really know what to expect when I go in their door.
Sure.
Just that there's someone to be embalmed. So, and I'm perfectly fine with that, only because I know that she's not nitpicking for me. She's not telling me, oh yeah, Frank, we've got an embalming to do. Oh, by the way, he's a total donor.
Yeah.
So, no, it's all good. It's been a good week. We got new grandbabies. So that's exciting news. We got new grandbabies. Fictitious Lisa's out in Ohio with them now, helping them up, and mom, pa, and then the 2 other children they have, and
twins.
And twins. Yeah, they're twins. Yep. And I won't mention their names. Yeah.
Okay, no, but this is so funny. They're not identical.
No.
But they came out exact same weight, exact same height.
Pretty cool.
That is the start of a fierce, lifelong competition.
Yeah. And the thing is that they're not small babies. I mean, just one baby, 7 pounds, 7 pounds, 12 ounces, 14 ounces. I can't remember, but both of them right in the 7 pound, close to 8 pound babies, both of them. That's a lot of weight to be carrying around.
I know. I feel
good for
so
her.
bad for their mom.
Because good for her. She's a trooper.
She is such a trooper. So yeah, Fictitious Lisa is out of town visiting the grandbabies. So that's usually when things pick up for you, honestly.
Yeah, true. And what's really nice too is that, they're in a part of town where my daughter is there with her husband as well, and they have 4 children.
Right.
And so they have been helping out a lot as well. So thank you. You know who I'm talking about. Thank you to both of you.
Yeah, isn't that kind of funny where totally different circumstances, just ends up 2 out of the 4 kids are about 15-minute drive from each other in Ohio.
Yeah, weird.
From Arizona. So weird.
Yeah.
But very nice when you go to visit.
Yeah. Right now with all the grandkids there. Yep. I agree.
Okay, and I did want to ask you a question because you said that the lady that you did an embalming for wanted you to be there at 6, right? 6:30?
Yeah.
This is just Frank trivia.
It's 6 o'clock, just so you know. 6 o'clock, not 6:30. 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Okay.
She was pretty clear about it.
When was the last time you slept in past 7?
Probably a week ago Sunday.
Okay.
And the only reason I did is,
right?
But my alarm was going off, and Lisa hurried and turned it off. And so I didn't. Yeah.
She's sneaky.
Yeah.
She knows when you need more sleep.
Yeah. And so I got up a little angry because I had an individual had to get embalmed Sunday morning, and that just put me behind. And so when I got it done, just barely made it back and changed in time for church. So yeah, otherwise I was just trying to be back and go to church with her, but we ended up going separately, which is fine as long as we're there.
I just always remember you waking up at like 4:30 every day of the week and going into work. Like, and my entire childhood till I left the house was always like that. Your alarm what?
My alarm is set right now for 4:40.
Oh my God.
So I'm giving myself a 10-minute leeway. Holly, see, things change. I can't take it all in. I can't get up at 4:30 anymore. Holly, I have to I get up at 4:40. It's too much.
That 10 minutes really changes your whole day. Turns it around.
Oh, you've been there.
Oh, yeah.
What about your week?
My week was good. It's been so crazy. I remember on Tuesday of this week, I was thinking about the next day and it felt like it was going to be Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wednesday, the next day felt like it should be Saturday. It just felt like this was the longest week ever. And I feel like we've been on a streak of a couple of really long weeks.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah. But it was good. We moved everything over basically. And so we're going to finish up moving into our new apartment tomorrow morning.
Yep. You showed me the house. It's completely empty.
Yep, it is completely empty. The only thing we have to move over is the really big furniture stuff. So that feels good to have it all done. Although when we were unpacking all our kitchen stuff at the new apartment today, I felt so overwhelmed because it's a much smaller space and there were just boxes everywhere. So it'll feel really good once it's unpacked. But in the meantime, it's like, oh, it feels cramped. But holy cow, so many cabinets in that kitchen.
Nice.
Right now,
that will
we
be
have
nice.
Like 3 usable cabinets. So it's a huge upgrade. Oh, and I have to update you on this. I made homemade peach sherbet today. No, it was this week. Okay, it is the easiest recipe in the world, and it is so good.
Really?
Yes. So for everyone,
how much did you make?
I don't know what it came out to. It was maybe a pint or 2.
Okay.
It didn't make a bunch, but you can make more. So what I did, I just sliced up, I believe it was 5 peaches. I peeled them and sliced them. You can keep the peels on if you want. And then it was 3/4 cup of sugar and 1/2 tablespoon of lemon juice. You put that in the blender. Swirl it all up till it's nice and creamy and smooth. And then you put it in a shallow dish and freeze it for like 6 or 7 hours. And then it's ready to go. Oh my gosh. It's so good.
Hold on. That's the whole thing?
That's the whole thing. It's ridiculous.
No milk or anything?
Easy. Nope. It's dairy free. It's gluten free. It's everything free. Except for sugar free. But whatever.
And except for the peaches. Yeah, those you probably
except for peaches free. But man, it's so good. I didn't have a shallow dish, so I just put it in my bread pan.
Yeah.
So as we were watching Frasier today, I was just holding my little bread pan of sherbet and eating it.
Did Caden have some?
Yeah, he really likes it too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Sounds like a meal or at least a dessert I'll have to try next time I'm out.
Yeah, I think you would really like it. You'd like the texture of it too. But that's it for me. Is that it for you?
That's it for now.
That's it for now.
Congratulations to the son and daughter-in-law before we begin, because their life is obviously going to change.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they doubled the amount of kids that they had.
Oh, quite a bit. Oh, that's okay. That's all right. They'll be okay.
No, yeah, they're going to do fantastic. Taking after the twins' grandfather. Just being a twin.
Yep.
We knew it had to happen to someone in the family, so
eventually,
better them than us.
I don't know.
I mean, what?
What?
What? I didn't say that. That wasn't recorded. But let's go ahead and let's be frank.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
today I want to kind of change topics just a little bit, and I want to kind of have fun with you today and share with you some of the experiences that I had at one particular combination unit. And a combination unit, I mean that there was a mortuary on a cemetery grounds,
Oh,
and
okay.
the cemetery is beautiful, and the combination unit was visited, I'll bet, by easily 1,000 people a day,
Holy
and
cow.
into the
So really
cemetery.
big cemetery.
Yes, and it
Wow.
could rival, probably it could rival the acreage of Disneyland.
Oh my
But
gosh.
the this particular day we had gone in, and they always have a 1 week every month. They have in the first week of the month they have a meeting between this mortuary and the cemetery crews, and they kind of do a planning meeting and letting you know what's happening, what's going to happen, and within the cemetery grounds. And we do try and do the same thing on the mortuary, but there's not really much you can plan on the mortuary because death is it's a fluid industry. So there's not really something you can plan. Say, oh, well, next week we're going to have 45 deaths.
Yeah.
Something like that. You just can't plan on that. So the
It'd
meeting
be
is
a
made.
little shady if you were planning on that.
Oh, by the
Uh,
way, no. So the cemetery is the one that really takes charge of that meeting, and it just mainly kind of lets the cemetery or the mortuary staff know what to expect in the following weeks. And they had made an announcement that they were going to do a major expansion and development of a new crypt. So this crypt was going to be, I think, at 22 spaces wide. And a crypt is an above ground burial or a above ground placement for caskets and urns. But this particular crypt was going to be 22, let's say, casket width wide or length. And then it was going to have 8 different levels. So
oh
the
wow.
ground level up to the 8th level, and the 8th level would be setting in. It's about 2.5 feet per level. So we're looking at 16, I don't know, 22, 23 feet in the air for the highest level, and then it's going to shoot out about 22, 24 crypt sides.
Pretty
And
big.
so it was going to be pretty big. It was going to be quite a project that they had decided to take on themselves and make advancements. Now, the problem that we have that they could see and foresee was that it was going to be abutted, or it was going to butt up next to the existing crypt.
Oh.
So the problem that they were going to they could foresee and possibly have people angry at them about is that they would have to close down that crypt, the
Oh, they
existing
were gonna
crypt
have to
from people.
close it
Yeah,
from visitors.
wall it off right from visitors so that they weren't hit by debris or anything like that that may have been being used to construct this crypt. Mausoleum. Okay, it's a mausoleum, but the individual crypts, when they're all together, it's a mausoleum. So that we're clear.
Oh, okay. So if there was only one body in the mausoleum, it would be a crypt.
That's correct. And
Okay.
so that is right. And so every crypt is like an above ground burial. So where you take a casket to the cemetery grave site and drop the casket, or at least place the casket underground, that's a grave. If you did the same thing, only except going underground, you went into a wall, that's a crypt. And then
Oh,
the
okay.
series or the numbers of crypts together make up a mausoleum.
Gotcha.
So that's when you go into some of the cemeteries and you see, I'm just going to use our name, you can see Frank Mausoleum. And so that mausoleum has been built and designed for his family. So there are
Ooh.
individual crypts, individual mausoleums, but for the most part, it's a publicly owned mausoleum. So that being said, okay, if you have questions about that, please email us in. But that being said, so the from the meeting, the actual time for that to be happening was a week away. So we had 1 week to mentally prepare ourselves for the upcoming construction of this future crypt or mausoleum.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had kind of forgotten about it because we're busy, and you just drive into the park and you don't really think much about it. You can see the heavy equipment, you just think, oh yeah, they're getting ready to build, and you don't really think much more about it. So one morning I walked or drove in, and the gentleman that's over both the cemetery and the general manager of both the cemetery and the cemetery and the mortuary was an older gentleman. And if I was to hand him a cell phone, a flip phone, and hand it to him and say, hey, would you mind, could you call my phone, or could you call, and this is just an example because we didn't really, well, I think we did have flip phones. Yeah, we did have flip phones. So I would hand him the flip phone and say, hey, could you call so-and-so? And he'd say, well, how do you turn it on? That would be the response. Well, it's on because you flipped it up. So, okay. Yeah. So anyway, this is the type of individual or man that we're dealing with when we come to the construction of this particular mausoleum. Now, some of the deco that was going on the mausoleum, absolutely beautiful. And those patrons, those individuals that were actually going to be placed there later. And the interesting thing about the mausoleum in that area, even though it would have had, like 100 and, what's 22 times 8, Holly? 816, 816, 176.
176.
So even though there's 176 spaces in this particular mausoleum, before they even cut the ground to place this mausoleum, 90 of those spaces had already been sold.
Oh my gosh.
And so they knew that there was a huge demand for it. Holy cow. It was absolutely beautiful on pictures and on drawings. But anyway, so this particular morning, I pulled into the cemetery, and you have to pull into the cemetery to curve around to get to the mortuary. So every morning you'd have to go through the same gate. And so I pulled into the gate, and I see this sign, simple as it could be, workers working.
Workers working.
Not workers in the area, not anything like that, just workers working. Okay. Workers working. Boy, I hope that none of the workers were standing by the sign when someone read the sign. So anyway, I just thought to myself, oh, and I'm going to call him, I won't call him anything, but I just thought to myself, oh, at least he's putting some signs out, letting people know that there's going to be some construction going on. And so just that little sign right there, I'll push some people into the mortuary to talk to him specifically, saying that they were disappointed that there was so much activity going on around the entrance of the cemetery, not allowing them to get into the cemetery. And then when they got into the cemetery, getting back out, how difficult it was to get in and out of the cemetery. Okay. So I guess he kind of listened, because the next morning
he said, did you see the sign? Workers working.
Any questions?
Clear as day.
And so the next morning I pulled in, and there it is, the workers working. But then you know how you can go down the freeway sometimes and you see build up signs?
Oh yeah.
You know, it builds on a program or a statement. Mm-hmm. So here we got the men working, or workers working. And then the second sign said, improvements for you. And so I'm still looking. So I'm still looking at it, thinking, "All right, I'm getting a little more detail. That's fantastic."
Just a bit.
That's great.
My gosh!
Oh my gosh! So anyway, it never stopped. Every single day, there was someone coming into the mortuary to see him specifically to complain about what was going on, and they all knew him by name, because that's the type of individual he was. He liked to be out in the community. He was involved with a number of different organizations, and they would come in and specifically ask for him. And especially if something was wrong with their own grave space or crypt, they would know who to go to, because he was the guy that would make the changes, make sure that it was taken care of. So after a second day of complaints, I didn't think much about it. I just could look at him, and he's looking down at the desk and he's shaking his head. And then he looks at, and then he looks at me.
Everything I thought of.
Then he looks at me and goes, "Oh man, if only they knew how blessed or not blessed, but how privileged they'll be to have this addition in the cemetery." Right. So I said, "Hey, have a good night," and I went on ahead, and I lived at the mortuary, so I just went upstairs. And so when I was called out to go do a first call that particular evening, I see. Here he is in the evening at about 11:30, and he's posting a third sign. Yes. Now, yes. Oh my gosh. So he decides to take a spin on the sign now. He's thinking, okay, so they can't take the heat or they can't understand what it is I'm trying to say with trying to prepare them for this. So the next morning, I saw him out there and I said, hey, you were out there kind of late last night. He said, yeah. And so I said, I'm just going to go out and look at the sign. So here it is. We got workers working. The next one says improvements for you. And the third one says this. Pardon our dust. It's not what. Hold on. Pardon our dust. It's not what you think.
Oh no!
You know what he's referring to?
Of course, ashes.
Cremated remains.
Yeah.
And so I looked at it and I go, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we went from one extreme to the other. Okay, so I just walked back in and I said, yeah, interesting. I just want to make sure that I'm aware that what you're hinting at is cremated remains dust, right? And he goes, yeah, at least you got it. I said, but I'm in the industry.
This poor man, he was racking his brain all night. What can I say?
Oh, I said,
and
so
then he finds it out at what, midnight, 2 a.m, goes immediately and posts the sign.
What I wanted to know is where he got these signs made. I mean, he was getting
print them out.
He did 6 signs all in all, and
we're
on 9. We're on sign number 3, and I'm just wondering, from day to day, how in the world did you have them made within the time you left to the time the morning when the gates were opened and people were starting to come in? How would you have another sign posted there? Yeah. Oh, whatever. Okay, so here we go. Here we go for the first 3 again. So we have workers working, improvements for you, pardon our dust, it's not what you think. And then the 4th morning, again, because people were still complaining, right?
Oh my gosh.
So the interesting with the signs is that he wasn't leading them away from construction. He was pulling them into the construction.
Oh.
Which I didn't really quite understand, but it would have seemed better for me to, if I was the one doing it, I would have pushed the signs so that they would have followed the signs out so they knew which direction to go. But anyway, the 4th sign read this: we won't smoke you unless you're cremated.
We won't smoke you unless you're cremated. Okay, so we're giving up on communicating that there's construction going on. Now we're just having fun.
Now we're having fun with cremation. And I'm thinking to myself, and I keep wanting to call him by his name, but I'm just thinking to myself, surely he can't be coming up with all these, right? And I'm trying to remember in my mind what those signs specifically said. All I know is that it was the smoke and the cremation. Okay, those are the 2. And I racked my brain thinking, okay, what could that sign have said? So now you've got that in mind. Let's go to sign number 5. And he says this: we won't let you down unless we need to.
Oh my gosh, just one final time. We'll let you down. Unless we need to.
Okay. And so the culminating sign.
Wait, that's number 5, right?
That was number 5. So the culminating sign of all of this work going on right now would be sign number 6.
Oh, no.
Oh, and this is what he says. Sorry. Limited staff. Obviously, a skeletal crew.
Oh my gosh. He had far too much fun with this, obviously.
Well, I'll tell you what, no one was coming in to complain.
Really? Were they not?
No. But we had people standing out there, reading the signs and talking about them.
Yeah, people are coming back every day. What's the next sign going to be?
Oh, my word. Oh,
that is
funny.
So funny.
Anyway,
I love that
go
he
ahead.
Started with the construction warning. Workers working.
Workers working.
Just very black and white, factual. Workers working.
Kind of redundant. Okay.
Improvements for you. Completely gives up on that.
Man.
Says, if they're going to yell at me, I'm going to make them laugh.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my gosh. That is
But
so
anyway,
funny.
by the time the mausoleum was completed, and it's an open air mausoleum. So in other words, it's not a building that you go into. You actually can walk right up to it from your car.
Oh,
and
nice.
They had, and just so you know, they had actually placed water features along and most of you that will actually know what I'm talking about with regards to mausoleums, on either side of the mausoleum, there were falls that came down.
Oh my gosh.
And then they had tributary ports that pulled the water away from the mausoleum. And it went into a kind of like a collecting pool or pond. And
like a reflecting pool almost?
Kind of, not. I would, yeah, probably. No fountain in the center, nothing like that. It was just a collecting pool, and that water was circulated and then put back up, and it just ran a cycle. Yeah. But the interesting thing with it was that under that stream or that water flow that left the mausoleum to the pond, they actually were able to put urns under that, which I thought was beautiful. They put urns under the running water. So every time they had a burial or a placement of an urn there, they would stop the water, pull the placard, put the urn in, and then put it down with the person's name on there.
Wow.
And so you're looking down and you'd say, oh, look, there's Dad. You know, because some people, they truly in that state, they love the water.
Yeah, of course.
And we're talking about California, for those that may not know, but they love the water. And so any water feature that they could put in there was going to sell immediately.
Yeah.
So it turned out to be absolutely beautiful.
Improvements for you.
Yeah, that's right. Oh boy, limited staff.
Clearly.
We don't want to scare you, but we have a skeletal crew. So do we have time for one more?
Yeah. Let's do one
more. Okay. A little bit about background. One of the cemeteries in the area where I worked was kind of the one road to get up to the cemetery was kind of a steep incline, and it's straight up only for maybe 50 to 100 feet. It's just enough to get you up to a level plane so that you could go ahead and catch another road and then get where you needed to go. But I always remembered where that was because when my kids were born, there was a pharmacy that was right on the other side of the street. That was that I just remember every time I see that pharmacy, that's the street I need to turn on in order to get up to the cemetery. So this particular day, I don't know what was going on, but for some reason have you ever had those days where you're actually working as hard as you can, but you're just off just a little bit?
Yeah.
And you can feel it, you know it, and something's just not clicking, but you know that you're trying to do the very best you can, but something's just off. And so we had finished a service, and the guy that I was working with, I was asking him to go ahead and place the casket in the car. And from the mortuary that we worked in to this kind of high, steep incline to get to the cemetery was about probably 3 miles. And so we're on our way to the cemetery, and I looked at him, and because now, when you get into the cemetery or when you put a casket in the back of a coach, there's little locking pins. So you put the pin behind the casket that won't allow it to move back and forth. And so we had made one stop, and I felt this. And I go, oh no. Meaning the casket wasn't pinned in.
Yeah. It just hit the back of the hearse.
Yeah. And I looked at him and I said, did you put the pin in the back? And he goes, I'm sure I did. I said, I'm not here. That casket should not be moving because the casket, when it's in a casket coach, it's on rollers. And so if there's no pin there, it has it can go forward and back at will. And so I just thought, well, I can't stop now because we've got a procession behind us. So if you get out and stop and you try and open the car and put that pin in, then they're going to go, oh, what's going on there? What's he doing at the casket? What's he doing to Dad or whatever?
Yeah.
So you don't ever want that type of thing. But so I just figured, well, we'll just go slow enough to where we can get up there. And Sure enough, the next stoplight, I felt that thing hit the back, or because there's always a pin near the front where the coach driver and the passengers sit. So there's always a pin right there. So you'll never have the casket bang up against the back end of where you're seated, but it will bounce back to the door.
Oh, okay.
There's no pin, and you can hear that, and it becomes a little jarring, when by the time you keep hearing it over and over and over. So, and every time you accelerate, sure enough, that casket would bounce back. So I just thought, oh, please, please don't be damaging the car, number one. And of course, I didn't have any problems with the casket because nothing inside that car is going to damage the casket.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I had as we approach, there's one stoplight, and you can see up ahead after that, the final stoplight before you enter up that hillside. You can see ahead, and you can see that turn that needs to go up that hill. And I looked at it and I go, oh no, because they'd been doing some construction. And so they had loose gravel.
Oh my gosh.
Which means that with that much weight, that car is going to be spinning its tires and probably throwing rocks behind to the cars behind you, causing damage to their cars, right?
Yeah.
And so the only thing you really think of is maybe just as you start up, and this was what I was thinking, as I start up the hill, I'm just going to go not as fast as I can, but give it a little bit of juice so that it has a little bit of glide as it's going up, and then just slowly but surely press the accelerator to allow it to go up the hill. So that was the plan that
Were you driving?
Mm-hmm. That's the plan that I had put in place.
Uh-huh.
So we're going up the hill, and sure enough, those wheels started to spin. So I stopped and kind of coasted down, and then did something that I should probably not have done. Accelerated just a little bit faster than what I wanted to, and that casket came back to that back door, only this time the back door didn't stop it. Do you know what I'm saying?
The door pushed open the back door. Did it fall out? The
door opened up. Of course it fell out. There was nothing holding the casket. And so it fell out. And now remember, we're on gravel. And so the casket hits it just right to where it's rolling. And now no one was behind us in the procession.
Steep hill.
No one was behind us in the procession. They could see what was taking place. And here this casket's rolling down the hill. And I looked at the person sitting next to me. I go, oh my gosh, we are so sued.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of. And the casket continues down the hill, and it hits the embankment or the curb.
Yeah.
And then what does it do? It's a pin lock casket, and the casket opens.
No.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And the guy pops out of the casket and pushes his way into the front door of the pharmacy. As it goes into the pharmacy, the guy gets up and just kind of raises it out of the casket and says, "Hey, excuse me, have you got anything to stop this coughing?"
Oh my gosh, you really had me on that. Come on.
Oh, Holly.
You got anything to stop this coughing? Oh my gosh.
We're coughing talking, Holly.
We're coughing talking.
So in case you haven't figured out, Coffiners, that is not a true story.
Oh my gosh.
But it's funny when you talk about, and it's funny how people have that reaction. It did what?
What? Goes into the pharmacy. Can you imagine that? Oh my gosh.
And then the deceased. Have you got anything to stop this coughing?
Oh my.
Oh wow. So anyway, Holly, those are kind of my lighthearted stories for the day. The first one was extremely true.
Yeah, you can't make that up.
but the second one, oh boy, no, not so much.
Wow. Was there actually a place that you worked where you had that steep hill?
Yes, and that everything I described is true. That hill does exist, and I just threw in the gravel and I threw in there was a pharmacy at the base, but
no coffin shot out of the cask or shot out of
the car.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so it was all very. And the more and more I think about it, it's a pretty funny story the way. And you could build that up to however you wanted it. Coffiners, feel free to use it.
Give us a
Yeah.
shout out.
Yeah. And if they say, hey, where did you hear that? You got to listen to Coffin Talking.
Uh-huh. Oh my gosh. That reminds me of at the very start of COVID when you made face masks when everyone had to wear masks that said coffin stoppin', right?
No, it said, maybe it did say Coffin Stoppin' or Stoppin'
I know
Coffin.
it was coffin. We're big on coffin puns apparently, but
oh my gosh, I can't remember what it was, but I think it was Coffin Stoppin'.
I think it was Stoppin' Coffin, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember. But it was
two
it was
ways because you
was a
stopped the
creative.
coughs.
Yeah, right.
And if you wore the masks, supposedly you would stop the coffins.
That's correct.
From coming. That is so funny.
I'll have to look that up. But you know who would? FL would know what it said.
She would know. Yeah, for sure.
But I, for the life of me, right now, as I'm thinking at it, I can't stop and coffin.
I think it was stop and coffin.
I think that's what it was. I think it was stop and coffin. Anyway, yeah, we had a lot of them made, and people did not just use them and hand them back so I could launder them. No, they walked out with them.
Oh yeah, they took them. You sent me a couple. I gave one to my boss. Everyone at my work wanted one.
Oh man. Anyway, it was fun. Yeah. Okay. Fun. Any other questions on that one at all, Holly?
No, I love it. Okay. I'm going to start telling that story whenever anyone asks me now. So tell us a story from the podcast. I'm going to tell that one. Say, if you want the real stories, you have to listen to the podcast.
That's right. Yeah. Just say this one was part of the podcast, but if you want to know real stories, then yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love that sweet man who put out all those signs. I just wish I could have met him.
Oh my gosh.
Workers working. Improvements for you. Was there any punctuation on them or anything? Or was it improvements for you? Workers working.
Pardon our dust. It's not pardon our dust. It's not what you think.
It's just a stream of consciousness. It's just his inner dialogue going on.
Oh my gosh. That's probably what it was.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
His initials are RF. He's such a nice guy.
Oh, okay, yes. You've told me stories about him. How funny. Oh, well, I guess that's that. Coffiners, if you have any reactions, we'd love to hear them. Email us at letsbefrank@coffintalkin.com or send us a DM on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Coffin Talkin Podcast. And we will
see you later. See you later.
See you later. That's that.
We won't let you down unless we need to.
We won't let you down.
Unless we need to.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
All right.
We'll
Talk to you later.
Next week, Coffiners.
Thank you. Thanks, Coffiners. Thanks for tuning in.